Okay, so this is just a quick tutorial showing you how to add a nice looking vignette to your project. Needs to render, you can hear the sounds all off, but once it plays through and renders, it will play the sound back in real time. I'm just going to shorten this down because it doesn't need to be this long. Whoops. Remember, one of the things we can do with this bar right here, we can shorten our comp duration. So there we go. So I'm going to shorten it to 5 seconds. Now, since my comp is currently like 10 seconds, if I right click on this line and choose trim comp to work area, it's going to shorten the duration of my entire project. I can always go back to comp settings. Oops, not new comp. It's early. I can always go back to comp settings and change the duration right here, make it longer if I want, but that's a really easy way to trim down your project once you realize that you're not going to need all that time. Now what we're going to do real quick here is add a vignette to this. Right now it has a really nice kind of clean vector look, but we'll go ahead and make it look a little more cinematic with a little vignette that will sort of replicate old camera lenses. And to do this is pretty straightforward, so let's go ahead and do it. In this case, I have my pre-comp right here. If I double click on it, you can see there's all my layers underneath there. There's really two ways you can do this. You can either add it over the entire thing, which will change everything, or sometimes we add it right behind the text, so it only affects the background. It's up to you. I'll show you how to do both. So if I go up to fill, first thing I want to do is click the word fill and set it to radial gradient. Okay, click OK, and now when I go to the fill itself, I get this gradient color controller, and right now it's set to blue and black, and these up here are opacity stops. They control how transparent the color is. So what I'm going to do is set this one to white. I could probably just leave it blue because I'm going to turn off the opacity anyways for this color. So hopefully what we'll get is just a black outside and nothing inside. So to drop the opacity, I need to click on this little guy right up here. That's my opacity stop. If I click on that, you see my opacity is set to 100%. Just drag that down to 0. And now I can see I've got nothing here and black there. So if I click OK, that sets my, and I can look at the gradient fill, and it looks exactly how I want it. So I'm going to come down here and make sure I haven't clicked on any layers, which I haven't, because that'll create a mask. And I'm just going to drag out this rectangle. Now you can see it's got a stroke on it. I'll go ahead and turn that off by just clicking stroke and disabling it. There we go. Okay. And then I can pull this down. Oops, Command Z. I'm going to go ahead and hit the V key, and that will allow me to stretch this out. Okay, and also hitting the V key also gives me this right here. This is a control to control the gradient. So if I push it kind of way out there, and that looks all right. I can go a little wider if I don't want it to be quite so strong. But I'm going to do one more thing that's going to blend the colors a little more, so I might end up even adjusting this further. But right now I'll push it to kind of right there. And here's our shape layer right here. If I click on it, hit return, I can call it vignette, or just VIN for short. Now if I want to vignette everything and have it affect the text and the background, I can leave it up top. And right now I'm set to my switches. That's all these little guys right here. But if I go down here and click modes, switches modes, now it gives me my modes. And by modes, it just simply means blend modes. It's nothing complicated. And I'm going to set it to soft light. And now what's happening is the black is darkening the existing color, and the places where the black isn't are just their regular color. If I want a little more punchy look, I could set it to overlay, and that just darkens it in a hair more. So that is affecting supposedly everything. I'm not sure that it's actually doing anything to our white. If we turn it on and off, tell the white doesn't really look like it's being affected. The reason I'm wondering about that is because if I drag it down to here, right above my background layer, oh, first thing I notice is that the Band-Aid is now showing. That layer right there. So I definitely don't want it down there right above the background. I'm going to drag it back up to the top. And the only question would be, would I want, yeah, I really can't mess with it because this layer has to be on top of the text. So I can't even move the text up. So anyways, that just means these are the results we're going to get. And that's fine. And then if I go back to the comp where I pre-comped it and added some color, you can see we've got a little color burn, a little bit of a vignette. Now, if you don't want this specific look, you can just not set it to modes. You could leave it on normal. And then you could play around with the opacity. I could hit T and drop the opacity a little bit, and that's going to bring back a little color, take out a little bit of that vignette. I could also, with the vignette selected, click in the middle. Let's see, with the V key and the vignette, I should be able to click in the middle and get that control back. Let's see, where is our gradient control? Well, it doesn't want to come back. Let's try going to the shape tool. The V key, nope. So if for whatever reason you're not seeing that little pull tab that we were using to adjust the vignette, if you don't see that come back, you can always go down here and under contents, rectangle, gradient fill right there, I can go down and there will be an adjustment, this start point and end point. That controls where the gradient is. So you'll see that if I pull, there you go, now it's come back. It was probably there. I don't know, I didn't see it. But there's my controller. And now I can pull that out and I could go with leave the black in there if I wanted to. Again, get creative, do it however you like. Add as much or as little as you want. Notice the more I pull it out, the more it brings back the color. But for me, I think the blend modes just look better. This just looks a little washed out. So for that reason, I'll set the opacity to 100%, which it is. I'll set the blend mode to soft light, and then I get this nice kind of darkening of the edges. It's real subtle, but it just kind of drives your eye towards the center. And that is it for creating vignettes.